Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shootaround. I am the only host of this podcast, Rudy Saint-Claire, and joining me, above me, as is tradition, is the one and only Rusty Buckets and the legendary AlexHoops. Fellas, we're back. We're back. It's been a little while. First part of the year, Season 4, Episode 21. I'm excited. It's good to be back.
Did you say Season 21?
I meant to say Season 4, Episode 21, if I said Season 21. We have not been doing this for 2 decades.
He had LeBron on his mind.
Yeah. Just in year 21, we're still using a restream. Fellas, I hope we're doing okay today. Jake, I know you're doing okay today. Been already spent.
Yeah, we spent the entire day together.
Yeah.
This is my second pod recording of the day, so
you're nice and warm.
I'm locked in.
Yeah, we got Alex nice and locked in with the lovely dim lights. He's got his signature drink cracking open in the background. Meanwhile, Jacob and I are just a couple of thirsty boys.
Yeah, we bought these at a gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Rudy got 30 cents off his gas.
I did.
Yeah, that's big. That's big.
It is big, especially because the area that we were in, for one reason or another, just has way higher gas prices than the area I actually live in. If I would have just had patience and waited to get home, I could have saved like $1 on gas. It's crazy.
It's because we went somewhere with a really it's kind of a bougie, nice area. So
yeah, they know they can get away with charging $3.69. But speaking of 69, fellas, no, there's no transition there. I just wanted to see your reaction. We going to do a recap of last night's games because apparently those were just awesome. Only caught a little bit of them.
Yeah,
lots of highlights on Twitter. Wembanyama, what the hell? He was just doing shit I've never seen done before.
I was talking to you before those games because I was like, man, Spurs, Bucks, and Warriors, Nuggets. Like Warriors, Nuggets could be fun, and it was. But I didn't expect Bucks, Spurs to be good. But you know why Bucks, Spurs was good? Because Trey motherfucking Jones was the starter and the offense actually made sense and they actually looked for their number 1 overall pick. Shocking concept. And he looked excellent. It was very, very cool to see Giannis and Wemby match up. I did not watch the full game for that one, unfortunately, but I did watch their individual highlights. It's very cool. Someone on Twitter highlighted, I don't know if you guys ever seen that. I think it's Reggie Evans clip when Giannis was 20 and he walks by the Kings bench and Reggie Evans goes, "How old are you?" And he says 20 and he goes, "Damn." It's basically the same thing the same thing Giannis got to experience with Wemby in this game because he just turned 20 before this. Was awesome. He blocked his dunk. He had 5 blocks in this game, 27 points in 26 minutes. Pretty damn efficient. And it was a close game, which is, for the fucking Bucks versus the Spurs, that's quite an ask. I was like, I imagine when they booked that game to be a nationally televised game all the way before the season started that they were like, the Spurs will be competitive because Victor will be awesome. In reality, I think 9 times out of 10 that game's a blowout, but it wasn't. So I'm pretty thankful for that. And then the Warriors-Nuggets game ended with a 40-foot bank shot 3-point game winner from Jokic, which is pretty fucking nuts. So that was just, it was a pretty typical game, I would say, from both ends of the spectrum, especially because the Warriors have been a lot better lately. Do we want to talk about the Kuminga stuff? Because I'm sure you guys have seen that at the very least.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, let's get into the Jonathan Kuminga.
Jonathan Kuminga had 16 points and I want to say 17, 18-ish minutes of action the first 2.5 quarters of the game. And then Steve Kerr didn't play him for the final 18 minutes of the game as the Nuggets went on a run primarily because the fucking Warriors couldn't score. It wasn't even like the Nuggets just, holy shit, put up so many points so fast. It was just because no one on the Warriors could get a bucket. Steph Curry, who, from what I understand, has been absurdly good in the fourth quarter this year, top of the league in multiple different clutch stats. He was terrible in the fourth quarter of this game. And Jonathan, a nice little come bucket spark would have been real useful. But instead, no. They elected to play Dario Saric. No offense to Dario, he's solid, but come on.
I'm not gonna comment on I don't know what it takes to be an NBA coach. I don't know what it takes to manage a locker room. I don't know what it takes to build a rotation, yada, yada, yada. But I will say this. What objectively does not make any sense is drafting a player 7th overall if you have no intention of dedicating developmental minutes towards that player. The Warriors drafted Jonathan Kuminga with the 7th overall pick in 2021 when there were plenty of other players that they could have drafted that fit the mold of a win now player while also serving the whole 2 timeline philosophy that they were allegedly trying to do. There was Franz Wagner. Imagine if the Warriors had Franz Wagner right now instead of Jonathan Kuminga. Not saying Jonathan Kuminga's a bad player, not saying that Jonathan Kuminga wouldn't be better than Franz Wagner right now, but we don't know because he never got the time to develop. He didn't get you can throw him in the G League all day. They're going to drop their 30 points per game in the G League till the cows come home. That's fine. But unless you're actually giving them reps in an NBA setting and letting them make mistakes and learn in a consistent role, then you're not going to get the best out of them. So why would you draft a player 7th overall if you're not going to play them? It objectively doesn't make sense. They should have traded the pick. They should have traded Jonathan Kuminga when he had more value. Now, he still has value as a trade asset, but he's not nearly the asset that he used to be. Does he still have upside? Probably. But now they're just kind of left as sitting ducks, and they're going to get less value for Kuminga than they would have gotten before. It's ridiculous to me that they kicked the can down the road for this long, and now good for Jonathan Kuminga. Good for Moses Moody for saying, you know what? You're not going to play us? Then we don't want to be on this team anymore. Yeah. Kyle Kuzma has a quote where he says, it's hard to be consistent in an inconsistent role. It's something that I quote all the time. And Steve Kerr has both of these guys who in spurts, when they actually get opportunities, seem like they contribute to winning pretty good. But for some reason, they're never rewarded for it. Instead, Chris Paul is getting minutes. Andrew Wiggins getting minutes, even though Andrew Wiggins has been bad this year. What are they going to do? Why don't it doesn't make sense.
And the thing to point out about Kuminga as well is that he has been good when he has played. Same can be said for Moody. Moody's been good in a more low-key way when he plays. But Kuminga, I know per 36 is a flawed stat, but he averages 19-7 for his career per 36. He averages 21-7 this year per 36. And that's the scoring that this team desperately needs. We have talked about time and time again with this Warriors team, that's Steph can't be the only capable offensive player out there. And Kuminga, they could not score the ball in this game. They had multiple guys on the floor who are pretty much going to catch and shoot or finish on the break, and that's pretty much all they're going to do. You're shooting yourself in the foot. It's not even like Kuminga is a bad fit. I'm sure there are better fits that would have been available and all that, but he can fit and he can contribute and he can work for this team right now, as can Moses Moody. That's what's really maddening about it. Their first year, I get it. Their second year, to an extent, I get it. But at a certain point, if you have 2 lottery picks and you're not going to play them, then they have every right to be upset with that and want to be elsewhere. And I'm glad that Kuminga has said something. I hope that one of 2 things happen, which is it results in a trade or it results in Steve Kerr not being so fucking stubborn.
The thing that confuses me just a little bit is I could have swore this week, not even a long time ago relative to the NBA season, but very recently, I saw something, and I could be misremembering, but I saw something talking about how Kuminga actually did have faith in Steve Kerr and how despite his inconsistent role, he's still been somewhat content because he uses it as motivation to stay ready. He's learning patience. He's developing under these veterans, and he's patiently waiting for his time to step into that starting role where he's a core part of this team night in, night out, not getting substituted out after dropping 1 point every minute or whatever, And yet all it takes is this one game where he's subbed out after going off for the media to get word that, oh, Kuminga's actually out on this team. Internally, the Warriors are seemingly a disaster right now. I can see a world where fans cope a little bit and think, oh, we've been a dynasty this long. We still got all of our pillars. Maybe, just maybe, this will work itself out with time. But I think more so now than last season, we're seeing the fallout of that Draymond punch. I think the locker room started to decay after that. And at this point, it's getting to where, I don't know, maybe the young guys in the locker room don't respect the older guys anymore. Maybe the younger guys are getting a little bit frustrated, and maybe those older guys just aren't what they used to be. And the dynasty is more or less officially over, even though Steph Curry is still arguably in his prime.
The future is now, old man.
What I will say is this: I don't know about like any of the locker room dynamics. If you could be right, I'm just saying that I don't know. And that would just be, speculative. But I will say this in regards to Jonathan Kuminga specifically, and Moses Moody, this applies to him as well. You mentioned how there was that quote a couple weeks ago where he was basically like, I trust Steve. I'm going to trust the process. I'm using it as motivation, et cetera, et cetera. He's saying all the right things and he's doing all the right things. Yes, he still makes mistakes. Duh. He's still a young player. He's going to make mistakes, but he's saying and he's doing all the right things. And yet for some reason, he is never rewarded for that. He never gets what he should seemingly deserve as a result of doing all the right things, not publicly bashing his coach and just, believing in him and believing that if he does what the coach needs him to do, then he will be rewarded accordingly. And I tweeted this earlier. When you continuously get passed over for a promotion at your job, whatever it may be, when you continuously get passed over for a promotion, for a raise over and over and over again, you're not going to stay at the same job. You're not going anywhere. You have no upward mobility. You're just going to say, I quit. I'm going to get a new job. Why would I stay here? Jonathan Kuminga is on trying to get a second contract. Why would he stay with the Warriors and let them sabotage his career when instead he can just say, you know what? You're not going to play me. I'm going to go play somewhere else. So you can either trade me or, kick the can down the road further and still be screwed regardless.
Sabotaging is probably a good way to put it because, like, if you're the number 7 pick and you have very high confidence in yourself, which I'm sure Kuminga has, you're expecting your next contract to be, if not a max, something in that ballpark. And there's no fucking way Kuminga would get that if this happens for another year following this one. Like, there will be a couple of teams that'll be like, we'll throw Kuminga 20 mil. But, like, in terms of, like, getting his generational fuck you money wealth, like, this is getting in the way of that. And not only, like, is he saying the right things, but Kuminga is consistently being more of a positive than a negative on the floor, especially this season. So it's like, it's not like there are basketball reasons for him not to be playing. The only reason is it seems that Steve Kerr just has a vendetta against anyone under the age of 25.
Here's some fun numbers for you. So right now, there's a good amount of players on the Warriors who have played more than 700 minutes this year. Of those players, Jonathan Kuminga is plus 2.3 when he's on the floor, meaning the Warriors are 2.3 points per 100 possessions better when he's on the floor, whether that's offense or defense, whatever. They have a plus 2.3 net rating when he's on the floor. That is higher than Dario Saric, Gary Payton, Kevon Looney, Draymond Green. It's like, what is he doing wrong? Like, you're saying that he's not doing all these things. Like, Andrew Wiggins is minus 14.2 in 795 minutes played this year. Jonathan Kuminga's played 729 minutes this year, and he's plus 2.3. So, like,
Wow.
what do you want him to do?
Yeah.
I had no idea that Andrew Wiggins was
That's
low
so bad. I knew it was
on the
bad, but
net rating
Jesus.
hierarchy.
Oof.
Wow. That's just mind-blowing because he was like a very important player to an extremely good team 2 years ago. And now he's
I don't know what
negative
exactly happened
14.
there. It's weird. Anyways, Kuminga needs to play, and we've thrown his name in there. But I also want to mention Moody. Like, Moody is a good role player in the NBA, for sure. I don't know if he has, star level upside like I believe Kuminga does, but either way, that's a guy who deserves to be playing more than he is. And like, I think he's like the 13th pick or something like that. And he's played like 8 minutes a game, 11 minutes a game, and now he's up to like 17, 16 minutes a game in his third year. Like, consistent. And the thing is, like, throughout the years, anytime Moody was in the game, it's like, yeah, this guy's good. This guy's a positive. The team looks better when he's on the floor. It's all just so silly. It's all just so dumb and stubborn. And like, I get the precedent of Steve Kerr. I get the precedent of the Warriors' big three. And I get giving them time and opportunity. But ever since they won that last title, it's been ugly. And I don't see it improving internally. I don't see it improving just simply by writing out what you have. Changes need to happen. Rotational changes have been happening, to give Steve Kerr some credit. I don't know if all of them, or at least a good amount of them, haven't necessarily been the best. But they have been adjustments made at the very least, which I appreciate. But either way, something more significant than a couple of more minutes to one player over the other needs to happen. And I just hope that a trade goes down so that we can stop this song and dance, because we've been doing it for a while.
I've got some numbers.
Love numbers.
This is fun.
Love fun numbers.
Right now, the Warriors have 5 lineups that have played at least 100 possessions together. Only 5. There's a lot of teams that have way more than that.
Mm-hmm.
These are the 5. Well, I'm not gonna read all 5, but here's 2 lineups for you: Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Jonathan Kuminga, Kevon Looney. Guess what net rating that lineup has?
Chris Paul in there, I'm gonna guess it's negative, but not by much. I'll say negative.
I'll give you a hint. It's positive.
Obviously,
Okay.
He's setting it up as a positive.
I know, but I had to sling to Chris Paul while I had the
+13.
chance.
It's plus 42.3. They are plus 42.3. Granted, they've only played 100 possessions together, small sample size, theater, all that stuff. The point is,
it's enough to keep trying it.
Yeah, it's like it's one of only 5 lineups that you've played that has 100 possessions together, and this one was by far the best. That's literally the best lineup of any lineup that's played 100 possessions for the Warriors this year.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not try it more? Why would you not give that more burn and see what it has in it? So for some additional context, Steph Curry, Chris Paul, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, and Kevon Looney, that lineup, they're plus 17.9, which, it's not bad, but the other one's plus 42.
Yeah.
Seems to me like you should try that a little more.
Imagine Draymond Green comes back from this indefinite suspension, which should be relatively soon as far as I understand it. He's back with the team that's sat in the third. But what if he comes back and he's on the bench while Chris Paul starts with Kuminga? Because that lineup is so good. Draymond would actually be like a super badass 6-man for sure. We got a couple of super chats. I'm going to use one that just came through from Denver and then transition into one we got earlier from Timon. Thank you, Denver. Appreciate the 5 USD and appreciate all 200 something of y'all in the chat right now. If you're listening at home, be sure to subscribe to also Rusty Buckets so you can become part of the show and join the live stream. 5 USD. The cherry on top was that Kerr said the reason Moses Moody is out of the rotation is because Kojo has been great and it's tough to play 3 guards.
Corey Joseph.
I forgot Corey Joseph is on this team.
In the year of our Lord 2024, Corey Joseph.
Man, I can't believe he's still in the league. Honestly, he's very 2012 core. Very beautiful game Spurs esque. I can't believe he's still in the league right now. Frankly, has he been good, or is that just Steve Kerr being crazy? I'm not exactly.
I think he's like,
level of
you
Corey
don't
Joseph.
understand. Corey Joseph is in his 30s and Moody is not, so I don't want to play him.
Steve Kerr, as an old man, just loves the old guys.
Also,
it is
I
tough
feel
to play
like
3 guards. That's why the Grizzlies suck.
I feel like Moses Moody is good enough, like big enough to play the 3 at least for stretches of time.
I mean, how tall is he? Like 6'5" with a big
He's not that
wingspan or
tall,
something like
but
that?
he's pretty bulky. Like you can get away with a 6'5" small forward for a chunk of time for sure.
Yeah, especially if they play bigger than their listed height. But thank you very much for the donation,
Yes,
Denver.
thank you.
Timon, frequent chatter, low-key MVP of super chats on the Shootaround, wanted us to talk a little bit about the other side of this game.
Dude,
Nikola Jokic hitting that big 40-foot snipe.
Fucking ridiculous stat that was like, of his last 46 shots, he's missed 6 of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think
what kind of shit is that?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
He's missed 5 shots in the last 4 games, something like that. To read Timon's chat out for
no wonder
audio
he hit
listeners
that
at
game
home.
winner. Dude literally can't miss.
For 7 Canadian smackaroos, thank you for the donation, Timon. Some of the narratives around Jokic recently have been so bad. Glad he shut people up, and he did. That shot was awesome.
Can I say something about this, man? I keep seeing this shit from fucking. There's always the Embiid versus Jokic shit that's going on, and we're just gonna do this till we're all dead. But the amount of people that I see that are like giving Jokic shit, because he had that stretch where he was pretty bad in the regular season, which is pretty out of character for him. And people were like, why aren't people giving shit to Jokic for this like they would Embiid? I don't know. Maybe because he just went on an excellent playoff run and won finals MVP, and your other guy flamed out in the second round, averaging 10 less points than he did in the regular season. What do you fucking mean? We don't care. He's proven himself and in that context, and Embiid has not. So he's going to get clowned on for that shit, where the reverse hasn't happened. After you have hit the mountaintop at that degree, you're allowed to have a couple of bad regular season games. The criticism gets reduced once you have achieved the highest thing you can achieve in this fucking sport. And it drives me nuts. They're like, this is a double standard. No, it's not. It's not a double standard because they don't have the same standings in their careers. They don't have the same reputation because one of them is successful and the other one won an MVP. Congrats.
Yeah, everyone's like all these like different stars in the NBA need to be held to the same standard. And I'm like, they are held to the same standard. Jokic got clowned when he got eliminated in the playoffs and didn't win and didn't make it to the conference finals, didn't win a championship. He got clowned. Giannis, when he didn't win a championship, even though he won MVP, guess what? He got clowned for it. And then you know what both of them did? They went and won a championship. So
so it's on your boy.
People are like, why is Embiid held to a different standard? And it's like, he's not held to a different standard. He's being held to the same standard. All these other guys, they won. Embiid, you know what he could do this year? He could go on and win. And guess what? Everyone would shut up.
Yeah.
Everyone would be like, yeah, you know what? He proved it. He proved himself.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Embiid's amazing. I'm just like, I'm so sick of everyone being like, oh, why does Embiid get held to a different standard? It's like, he's not. He's held to the same standard as everybody else. People are going to do it with Luka too. If Luka ever wins MVP, they're going to be like, oh, he won MVP. He didn't win a championship though. It's like, yeah, that's the standard. If you win MVP, the expectation is a championship.
Yeah. Anybody who's that fucking good is immediately held to high standards. And you can't have it both ways. You can't talk about how Embiid's as good as these guys who have achieved that, but then be upset that he is criticized for not having achieved that.
I did want to bring this up just for the sake of maybe giving Joel Embiid a little bit of slack, if you will. I think his injury history, especially in the playoffs, is a little bit bad. I mean, obviously this injury log is going to be exhaustive. It's covering his whole career. But let's see. We got some right here at the end of the year. Knee. Right? And that's 2021. 2022. Nothing really at the end of the year, so I guess there's no excuse. Then 2023, last season, right at the end of the year. Didn't he get like hit in the face or something? I don't remember. Yeah, more knee injury in May. So I'd have to really deep dive this a little bit more to be able to get an honest take on this. But my understanding of Joel Embiid's playoff history is that people tend to be a little bit uncharitable towards him in regards to acknowledging how hurt he has been in the playoffs. It's a lot of bad luck. I would love to see.
People did it with Giannis too. Giannis got hurt in the bubble, and everyone clowned him, and they were like, "Oh, you got bounced by the Heat." It's like, yeah, Giannis, almost broke his leg in that series. Like, yeah, he was hurt. I'm not saying this like this is not necessarily my opinion, but NBA players have talked about this on podcasts, in interviews. They all say the same things when it comes to injuries in the playoffs. They all say the same thing. They say everyone's injured, everyone's hurt. You're gonna get hurt in a playoff series. I'm not saying that a player should play through it. I'm not saying they shouldn't play through it. I don't know. All I know is that from an outside perspective and based on how NBA players have talked about it, they typically say the same thing, which is everybody's hurt. And like sometimes it prevents people from playing, sometimes it doesn't. I don't know what the case is for Joel Embiid, but he's not held to any different standard.
Right. And I also like it's happened enough that like also like if you're injured all the time, like just constantly, then my standard for you as a player is whatever that version of you is injured. So I'm still holding you to that standard.
Real quick, I want to Zay said I am saying players probably shouldn't play through it. I agree. I'm saying that I'm not the one to tell them that they shouldn't play through it. I was more so saying that's like their decision. Obviously, I don't think they should hurt themselves.
You don't want to walk like Kenny Smith in your 40s.
Yeah.
Right. He's been an N-word. Timing gave us another 7 Canadian smackaroos. Malone played Watson down the stretch. Kerr didn't play Kuminga, and they lost. One of the differences last night, have to trust the young players.
Yeah, dude, Peyton Watson was awesome in that game on both ends of the floor. He was really good for the Nuggets, and I think he might be like, we're talking about like what their rotation looks like in the postseason. I think he might be, if not the most prominent bench piece, at the very least the second most prominent one in their playoff rotation. He's really good. Insanely good shot blocker.
Mike Malone, probably a better coach than Steve Kerr at this point.
Yeah.
Not without a doubt, but like probably.
No, without a doubt.
I just know there's a lot of,
I'm gonna say without a doubt,
lovers out there, Not exactly one of them. His shit was revolutionary 10 years ago, but the league has since caught up, and he looks a little bit lost in the sauce, a little caught up in the past. Klay Thompson should probably be coming off the bench. Yeah, go off, Alex.
Real quick to put a bow tie on the Embiid stuff. All of this stuff that, I don't know how you guys feel, but all of this stuff I've said about Embiid, I would still have him as the MVP this year. He's personally number one for me.
Yeah, I said going into this year that like Embiid could do the most ridiculous shit and he still wouldn't win it because of his reputation at this point. But as the year's going along, I'm like, I don't know. I think he could still fucking win it even with that, because he has definitely been the best player in the league this year in terms of just regular season production. The only thing that worries me, he's missed a couple of games already. I think he has like 10 games that he can miss for the rest of the year, and after that he's disqualified. So that is an area of concern. But if he plays the qualifying games, he's definitely MVP at this point.
Got another chat from Double D. Figured I'd, let him stretch out his $5 USD. Appreciate that earlier donation. This one's for free. Kerr has literally said this season after the pod's DNPs to start the year, quote unquote, the guys who are playing well will stay out there, something along those lines. Now here he is, not doing it again. And yeah, maybe it's a time for Steve Kerr to go. I mean, do you think the Warriors would be better off without Steve Kerr? Would they prefer Mike Brown? Maybe. This is, tough to say.
I think you need to get someone in there with new ideas. And that's ultimately it needs to be shaken up. And I honestly get more mad than I would for other franchises because Stephen Curry is my favorite player who's still playing right now. And it drives me nuts seeing that he's as good as he is and they can't put a fucking roster around him.
Yeah. But I guess that's enough about the Nuggets and Warriors. We've been rambling about that for a full 25 minutes.
We barely even talked about the actual game.
Right. It's all much more metatextual. What about the Spurs Bucks game? The Wemby highlights from last night. Man, he had the self alley-oop and the behind the back move into the dunk on the fast break. I mean, I don't even want to express how that made me feel. It was dirty in all the right ways. Besides that, I don't know anything about this game. So if y'all want to enlighten me to the course of this Bucks Spurs game,
the main thing was Giannis versus Wemby. Giannis had like 44 points. Dame had 25 and 10. It was just good. It was nice to see the Spurs get Wemby the ball in the right position. And Devin Vassell had a great game. I think he had 34 points. But yeah, I don't got much to add other than Wemby did some crazy Wemby shit.
I saw someone tweet like, "Is this what it felt like to watch Wilt?"
I saw someone who put a photo of Wilt and Kareem, just like the comparison of like Wilt was in the Lakers jersey at this point. He's like averaging 13 and 10. And Kareem is like fresh on the scene. Everyone's like, whoa, this guy's even better than Wilt was. Kind of similar vibes, although like Giannis is more in his prime than Wilt was there. But still, it's feeling like the next generation is coming along, which is a little interesting just because like Giannis is only like 28. It's not like he's the old generation yet, but
right. Still got 7 more years of Giannis being pretty damn good, probably.
Yeah.
We did get another donation from another frequent donator, Fast Break Report. Appreciate the love. 5 USC to say, last year it felt like Embiid was just handed the MVP because of all the Twitter complainers, but this year it feels like he's rightfully the MVP, and I tend to agree with this. I think at one point early on in the season, we were kind of spinning the web of, even if Embiid tops his previous year statistically, it'll be hard for him to win MVP just because of the lack of playoff success. For now,
Rudy.
I blame my fun drink. Give me a little bit too much stimulation, making my vocabulary go all sorts of which ways. But I think that narrative's dead. I think right now, as we've said, Embiid probably the MVP if the season ended today, and that's despite the lack of playoff success.
Yeah, I like how Nick Nurse has changed how he's used in the offense a lot. And it's made him be a player that I enjoy watching more than I used to.
Yeah. Well, do we want to get into our New Year's resolutions? Shout out to JJ Redick for the premise.
Yes, shout out to JJ Redick for us stealing this concept from him. But, he's JJ Redick and we're just a little old podcast. So what's he going to do?
Wasn't it the Dunker Spot guys that did this?
Probably. I imagine JJ Redick.
I mean, it was part of the JJ Redick podcast, but I don't know if all I'm saying is
no, it was just JJ. I watched the clip.
I watched the episode too, and I thought Nikias and Steve Jones.
Maybe they did too, but
they might have been a part of it. But either way, I want to give credit if they came up with it. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Dunker Spot / JJ Redick.
Yeah. Shout out to.
I only saw JJ do it, but maybe they did more elsewhere. I don't know. Either way, who wants to go first?
I'll start off.
Yeah, I need to know what this means. Rudy's is bizarre.
The first one I got is that Taylor Jenkins, head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies, needs to get a new morning routine. I think he needs a fresh take on life. I think he needs to be using lots of new products that he's trying out in the morning. Exfoliate his scalp and get some nice beard oil going. Just a really rich self-care morning routine for Taylor Jenkins because he seems miserable right now. I mean,
you think a morning routine is the difference between
it sounds like he just needs a shrink.
Yeah, a shrink, a morning routine. I mean, Taylor Jenkins going to therapy or getting a new morning routine. Either way, he needs some help, whether that's from himself or from outside, because he has not been a good coach this year. It was very easy to write off the Grizzlies' lack of success through the first 30 games or so as, just injuries and Ja Morant suspension. And, we weren't supposed to be good. But now we're at full strength.
To
and
be
we're
completely
still
honest,
not doing good.
You're not at full strength.
Yeah, you're missing two big pieces. But either
Right.
way,
Brandon Clark and Steven Adams are monumental.
Two of the most
success.
important players on your team.
Yeah.
I will say, though, to be honest about that, like, I expected the Grizzlies to be better without Ja than they were. Even though I knew they weren't going to be good, they were even worse than I thought they could be. And I think a good coach would have made that difference to where they were like probably like, I don't know, like a 35% win percentage versus whatever the hell they actually had.
Right, definitely sub 30. We part of this morning routine I want Taylor to get, or help from a shrink, I reckon, is to start doing lineup adjustments on the day of the game instead of like a week in advance, because that's the only rationale besides like external factors motivating him to do some of these lineups. Like, why are we playing Derrick Rose at all when Vince Williams is on the roster? Why is Jake LaRavia still getting minutes? Why is David Roddy still getting minutes? Why is Zaire, getting inconsistent minutes, but not like developing? You know what I mean? Like, if we're going to play Zaire, if we're going to play Roddy, make them consistent guys and have them be defined in their role. But instead, it's just been super inconsistent. And Marcus Smart, also like very questionable about him as far as like the price we paid and what we're actually getting out of him. He's got a green light and he's a horrible pull-up three shooter. One of the worst in the league, statistically, especially for like the rate that he does it. And that is just not the basketball we need. We need good shooters hitting open threes, not Marcus Smart taking off the dribble threes like it's not just a last resort offense. I just don't understand the direction the Grizzlies are going in right now, and I want to point that blame on Taylor Jenkins, unfortunately. I've been an apologist all season long, but the last few games really shaken my faith.
Yeah, you went out of the box way more than I did.
Yeah, my stuff's pretty basic.
All right, I'll go next. If this thing will let me in. Okay. First one's for the Spurs. It's rather simple. Start Trey Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's you're right.
It's just like it's so obvious at this point. Anything but doing that is tanking.
Yeah.
I mean, they finally started him for this Bucks game, and Wemby looked awesome. Coincidence? I think not.
So here's a discussion.
Anyone get that reference? Okay.
I think I've brought this up a couple of times. I don't know if you guys have seen it when I've brought it up. This is entirely speculative. Well, I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, via watching the games, I have come to this conclusion, or not necessarily conclusion, but I've kind of developed this hypothesis that, and don't aggregate this, like I don't think we're big enough to be aggregated anyways, but the point is, this is just me like potentially being completely off base. I get the vibe that Jeremy Sohan may not be the biggest Wemby fan. And I say that via like body language. Like I don't know if he looks off of him all the time because he's just a bad passer. I think that could be the case. Or if he doesn't like Wemby and he doesn't want to get him the ball. But like their body language, not there. Wemby, I haven't really noticed anything. But Sohan, like, there's times where they'll show a replay and he's like kind of giving Wemby a dirty look. And like they kind of ignore each other on the bench and stuff. I mean, I don't know if it's just coincidence that this stuff happens, but like there are times when I watch Spurs games and I'm like, ooh, they kind of gave each other a cold shoulder there. And like, I know teammates are going to have like, you know, they're going to argue. They're not going to get along sometimes. It is what it is. All I'm saying is just like, sometimes like they're definitely getting a feel for each other, it seems, because sometimes it seems like they just don't like each other, which might just be part of growing pains.
I'm very glad that you decided to bring this up. I didn't want to out you for having this take. So
seems very one-sided to me. Like I don't get the impression the other way. Like I don't think Wemby gives a shit.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, I could be completely off base. It's just like there's stuff that happens in games sometimes that I'm like, That was weird.
I mean, a lot
That's
of
really
people
all it is.
A lot of people have gotten that impression, so it's not. I don't think you're off base, but there's only so much you can get out of reading body language during a
Right.
basketball game.
Right. We need to sit Jeremy Sohan down in like an interrogation room and have some true crime YouTuber diagnose his internal thoughts by just reading his body language and jumping to conclusions.
I would need
classic
him
true
and
crime YouTube stuff.
Wemby to have a sit down interview like Isaiah and Magic.
Yeah, but starting Trey Jones would definitely get the Spurs at least half a tier up the ring, up the hierarchy of NBA teams. They would get out of the Pistons tier.
I don't give a fuck
Grizzlies
about
tier.
what it means for their wins. I just want to be able to watch a Spurs game and not be furious. Because most of the time I'm just like, he's fucking open the whole time, over and over again. I'll say that like 4 times a game at least. So it'd be nice to avoid that.
Yeah. We do have a New Year's resolution from chat. Rodney TV, I believe this is his first time donating. Appreciate the $4.99 USD. Lakers need to spam pick and roll and trade for Clay and Gary Trent Jr.
Winning. I'm actually that's actually pretty related to another one of my resolutions, but Alex needs to get his off first.
Mine is there's a bit of a dissertation that goes along with it. So over the last 10 years or so, as far back as I was willing to, look, because you'll understand. Over the last decade, there's not a single team there is one team that has won a championship attempting 40% or more of their shots from beyond the arc. And you can probably guess that one team is the Golden State Warriors. And the reason I bring this up is because I'm developing a theory and going to have to do some more research on it. Going to need some larger sample sizes. But my theory is that with the exception of the Golden State Warriors, you do not win a championship if you're attempting like 39% or more of your shots from beyond the arc. I just don't think that is a recipe for postseason success. You're too reliant on variance in your shots. I just don't think a team cannot shoot that well on that volume long enough to win a championship. Like, I just don't think it happens. And the reason I'm bringing this, go ahead, Jacob.
I do just want to say that I'm like, I would like to hear more about this specific thing, like with actual information on it. Honestly, I think you could make a video on it. But I do love that, like, there is a cap on 3-point shooting in terms of the value it brings you, like that you can go too far with it, because as the years have gone on, it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. And at a certain point, the boomer in me comes out and is like, all right, stop shooting so many fucking threes. Good God. And I'm just in general as a basketball fan happy to know that there's a threshold that's too far, and that hopefully teams will recognize that sooner rather than later and figure that shit out.
So thank you, Zay. I'm glad that someone else has like noticed this, because I felt like that meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where it was like he's like Charlie's standing in front of the map and he's like got all the pins in there and he's like
Pepe
looking
Sylvia.
crazy. Yeah, that's how I felt.
Definitely make a video on this.
Potentially, we'll see. All of this lead up is to say, right now, and my resolution was specifically for one team, but it applies to others. Right now, there are 5 teams attempting 40% or more of their shots from 3. Memphis, which I think that'll change now that Ja's back. Golden State, look at how that's working out for them. Sacramento's weird because even though they're attempting 41.8% of their shots from 3, they're attempting roughly 30% of their shots at the rim, which is still below average, but it's not quite as bad. Second is Dallas at 42.7%, and number 1 is Boston. They're attempting 43.8% of their shots at the rim. And you might think, well, okay.
You mean from 3?
Yeah, from 3. Excuse me. You might be thinking, okay, well, they're attempting a lot of threes, but maybe they're getting to the rim, right? They're getting to the rim at a good volume, maybe. But no. All of the teams that I just mentioned are, with the exception of Memphis, all of those teams that I mentioned are bottom 5 in rim frequency. They're attempting 30% or fewer of their shots at the rim, which, like, if you're going to attempt just a ridiculous amount of threes, you need to also be balancing that with just a ridiculous amount of shots at the rim. And that's not happening.
Yeah, the Celtics shoot a good amount of mid-range shots.
Yeah.
Like
and
Jason, Jalen, Porzingis, they all like their mid-range shots.
Yeah. My overall point with all of this is the Celtics need to drive. Like, please drive to the basket, because Rudy, I don't know if you are able to pull this up, but I tweeted a graph the other day that had basically drives per game by team and field goal percentage on drives by team. And if you look at the Celtics, they actually shoot pretty good off of drives, like surprisingly good, but their volume is just not up to snuff. And it's like, teams got to, if you're good at finishing, drive. Like, if you have good finishers, drive. The Bucks are in the same boat. The Bucks are like the most efficient team in the league off of drives. Yeah, they are most efficient team in the league off of drives, but they're bottom 6 in drives per game. The Warriors, I understand why they're not driving. They're bad finishing off of drives. The Nuggets, the Nuggets are an exception where it's like, yeah, well, the Nuggets are just so good that they don't need to. And also, like, when you have Jokic, it's less about driving and more about just like setting guys up. Yeah, guys are coming off of cuts and stuff, like delay actions and stuff. It's you don't need drives as much. But the Bucks, they could definitely do to drive more. But the Celtics especially, it's like, dog, y'all are good at this. Drive, please. Same with the Mavericks. The Mavericks, they're good at driving. Drive more, please.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, I'm really looking at this chart. I've glanced at it a couple of times, and I believe it made an appearance in your most recent video or the one before that. But the Thunder, like, I feel like this is understated by the chart. Like, if we imagine this as a bell curve, the Thunder are like 2 standard deviations ahead of the average. Like, they so frequent.
They drive more than any other team ever.
It's ridiculous. It's genuinely, like, unprecedented.
It's the Oklahoma City NASCAR. I mean, I just can't believe how frequent that is. The Grizzlies should be there, frankly, or at least flirting with like the Pacers territory in frequency based on our personnel, especially with Ja coming back. But seeing the Thunder that high, especially when you compare it to the Warriors, I mean, 37 versus like 60, like 50% more drives a game. That's insane. It's truly wild. Thank you for directing me to bring this up.
You got it.
Yeah.
But Jacob, that's my New Year's resolution for all those teams. Stop attempting so many threes, because it's not going to work. It historically doesn't work. We have 10 years of sample size to see that you have to have Steph Curry and Klay Thompson on your team for it to work.
I'll say that. I'll ask this then. Celtics are favorites at the very least in the East to pretty much everybody. It's basically them and Denver are the teams that people are debating who should be the top dog for real. Would you say that the Celtics are a little bit overrated because of this fact if they don't change this drive disparity?
I mean,
maybe not as fearful of them as an opponent as you otherwise would be.
Part of me questions how much this volume is impacted by Porzingis missing a good amount of time so far. So I don't know how much is being skewed as a direct result of that. My point is more so, if this continues, we kind of know now that it doesn't work. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say that I'm low on the Celtics, but like, I don't have high hopes because historically it doesn't work.
doesn't work is doesn't work.
Especially since the only exception is the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only one.
Yeah, it's kind of like the
parentheses Stephen Curry.
Yeah, that's like the Magic Johnson assist rule. Like only he and LeBron have averaged double-digit assists and won
Isaiah
a title.
Thomas.
Not for the title years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that's just another point to my point about that. Is Isaiah stopped averaging double-digit assists and they went to the finals and won. So
we did get a.
You need an outlier, ridiculous thing like Stephen Clay in order for that to work.
Very relevant to your question that you posed to Alex a moment ago, Jacob. Timon gave us another 7 Canadian smackaroos. Appreciate the donation. You're the real MVP. Celtics are one of the bigger teams in the NBA, and they rely on the 3-ball too much. It's awkward. It would definitely be awkward. I mean, they've been in an awkward place for like a decade, where it's like, man, this team could win a championship, and then we just know it's not happening, even when they make it to the finals.
Well, the thing that's also a little annoying to me about it is, like, if anything, they should be liberated to drive more than they ever have been before, because this is the best space team that they have had. Like, literally, you regularly have 5 guys on the floor who can all shoot the 3 at a pretty damn good level. Like, the worst option is going to be Drew Holiday, you know? So I don't really get it. Like, I feel like this should enable you to get to the rim even more because there's less people packing the paint.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, I want to use this super chat from earlier that you alluded to it being similar to your own New Year's resolution. Rodney TV earlier gave us the $5 to say the Lakers need to spam pick and roll and trade for Clay.
I had a 2-part New Year's resolution for the Lakers. First one, fire Darvin Ham. Fire Darvin Ham. And then the other one was trade for a bona fide shooter. This team has been in desperate need of a guy who's like a shooter. I don't just mean improve your shooting. I mean, get someone like, I don't know about Clay, but like Gary Trent Jr. is a good option. There's a lot of Pacers fans that want Buddy Hield gone because his three's not gone in as much this year as it has in the past. Whoever it may be, get someone out there who's a fucking sniper, because I'm tired of like Taurean Prince being the best option from 3 you've got.
You know, the Lakers would undeniably be better if they actually had a real shooter.
Like this is like such a dumb what if to get hung up on, but I always think, what if the Lakers went with that Buddy Hield trade instead of the Russell Westbrook trade? How different would everything be if that happened instead?
It would probably entirely change the landscape of the NBA. I mean, getting one of the best 3-point shooters of all time, even on high volume, Buddy Hield on the Lakers. His legacy would be propped up so much by even a temporary stint on the Lakers. But I guess they could settle for an old man Klay Thompson if they really wanted to.
Klay's just too expensive. Like, trade for someone who doesn't cost you all the money.
Yeah. But thank you, Rodney TV, for that donation. I also had a Lakers resolution, and I think it's that they need to go back to their original plan of having LeBron on a minutes restriction, because the correlation is right there. I don't know about the causation. I'm not, an expert. I'm a professional casual. I am a fan. I don't do the analysis at the level that even you guys do. But I do understand that the correlation between the Lakers being good is with LeBron playing a little bit less. It allows him to be engaged on defense more. And when he's playing like 36, 37, 38 minutes a game, it's a lot easier for LeBron to slip into those, I don't want to say lazy, but like less effective tendencies where he's statistically one of the slowest players in the league because he's walking so much, where we know him to be more of an oversized point guard than like a versatile forward who can like play defense all over the floor and lead the team on offense. LeBron playing this many minutes seems to have a direct relationship with the Lakers' success at this stage in his career. I mean, the man is 40. He doesn't need to be playing 40 minutes a game.
He's 39, but yeah.
He's 40, I'm 30.
He just turned 39.
Yeah,
but
that's
I
my
agree,
New Year's resolution
because,
for
like,
him.
I'd rather get like a super high quality 27 minutes from LeBron than like a overall watered down 38.
Yeah.
All right, who's next?
Yeah, Alex, I guess that's cue you up for another resolution.
Mine's not very interesting, but I've been high on Emmanuel Quickly for a while. I've been singing his praises since last year. And basically, like, the big thing, kind of, I don't know if I would say the issue, but one of the problems when he was on the Knicks was the fact that, like, they didn't really give him a ton of, like, experience early on, just in terms of development. Tom Thibodeau was a little reluctant to give him a ton of PT early on. And I don't know how much, like, that may have not hurt his development. It doesn't seem like it's hurt his development a ton, but maybe he's a little bit behind schedule. So my New Year's resolution for the Raptors, especially, now they've made this trade. So I don't think the trade didn't happen until like 2 days ago, right? 2 or 3 days ago. So I didn't come up with this before the trade happened, obviously, but the Raptors should
It's like a week ago, but whatever.
It wasn't a week. It was like 3 days ago.
Time isn't real, at the end of the day.
It was was it not in like the end of December?
Dude, this happened like 3 days ago.
It's been a long 3 days.
It has been. So maybe that's why I'm off base, but I'm pretty sure it's at least 5, right?
It was like 3 days ago. It was 3 or 4 days ago. I would say 4 max.
Yeah, whatever.
This is great podcast.
My trade reaction is from 6 days ago.
Maybe it was a week ago.
Yeah.
Nope. Well, either way,
let's just settle and agree that it was 5.
No.
Right
well, I mean, it was 7. It was 7, apparently, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Well,
it's not important, but
Yeah,
I care way too much about being right, so I had to make sure.
Well, either way, point being, yeah, it had no relevance to what I was saying.
Oh, not even a little bit.
I don't even remember what I was saying. Oh yeah, but just like, the Raptors aren't winning anything this year. They're not, maybe they make the playoffs through the play, maybe, but like they're not gonna win a championship. So like, see how much you have in Emmanuel Quickly. Just go crazy. Spam him with Scotty and see what they can do together. And, you might have your point guard of the future. I think they do anyways, because I love Emmanuel Quickly. I think he's great. But, really, really see what you can get out of him.
It kind of felt to me like he hit the ground running. Like his first game wasn't that great, but his second game is pretty excellent. And like specifically like in terms of the way the Raptors were using him, it seemed like they were using him with like him being a star level guard in mind.
Yeah.
Seeing him play against the Grizzlies kind of reminded me of seeing Tyrese Maxey play against the Grizzlies several years ago when he was like kind of in the infancy of his game. And I think we actually talked about this a little bit, Jacob.
We were saying there is a spectrum of the same type of player because they do have pretty similar play styles. Not only that, but also like their movement is weirdly similar. They're also pretty similar in terms of their like measurables, like height, wingspan, weight, all that. Pretty similar-ish levels of athleticism. Tyrese Maxey is probably the most athletic out of all of them. By the way, there's like a spectrum of like Tyrese Maxey, Emmanuel Quickly, Bones Highland, of like 3 tiers of the same player.
Yeah.
But Quickly's he's a lot closer to the Maxey than the Bones from what I have seen from the Raptors thus far, and I think he can definitely be there.
Yeah,
that's a like metaphor for life.
Not even close.
Yeah. Right. He's definitely not. Right. He's definitely not at the 50-50 midway point between those two players. What I'm getting at.
Yeah, but Emmanuel Quickly is very good. I saw a clip where it was either a clip or a tweet summarizing a press conference or whatever, saying that IQ was struggling a little bit, and then head coach Darko, Grizzlies legend, apparently Taylor Jenkins' ghostwriter, told him, "You're not having fun out there. Go have fun." And he quickly said that this is the first time he's ever had a coach tell him something like that. And he proceeded to just go the fuck off, win the Raptors the game, and I think he finished with 26 points. Like, Emmanuel Quickley's got the goods, and I'm jealous of the Raptors for winning a trade so convincingly. I think they pretty much won this trade. Even if the Knicks make it to the conference finals this year, like Emmanuel Quickley is probably going to be better than OG Anunoby in at least a couple years, in my opinion. Maybe it's just my preference as far as types of players, but I like IQ a lot, and I think the genre that OG is a little bit overrated. Although I understand he is like happy to be in New York, so maybe he won't be asking for $40 million when his contract is up or whatever.
I don't think top 5 perimeter defender and very good, like, fills his role offensive player is an overrated player type at all. That's the most. Yeah. There's a reason it's at high praises.
Yeah.
I disagree with almost. We don't have to like pick it apart, but I disagree with almost everything you said.
That's fine.
OG is a player that every team wants. Not as much as the Raptors thought people wanted him. Although I don't know, RJ. If RJ works out pretty well too, that's a pretty hefty package for OG. It's basically the draft capital, but
it's like the highest quality flyer you could take on a guy is a guy like RJ who's picked that high in the draft and has shown flashes here and there. But he is ultimately a very pricey flyer, but he could be good. Could be good.
Yeah, and I feel like if he's going to be good anywhere, it's going to be back home. So that might be the environment he needs to get good.
Yeah, he was hooping for Team Canada in the FIBA World Cup. So, like, he's back in the motherland.
Yeah. My final New Year's resolution is Kevin Durant needs to give up Twitter. We've it's been a while since we podcasted. This is something that came up in the time between episode 420 and episode 421, where Kevin Durant quietly has been rumored to be unhappy in Phoenix. That was sort of like a 24-hour story, a slow news day type beat. But Phoenix hasn't been very good, hasn't gotten a lot of attention around the league. And Kevin Durant is notoriously unhappy anytime he's not winning at the highest levels. So I think he just needs to get off Twitter as much as he loves it, at least for this season. Spend 2024 tweeting less and scrolling less, KD, and more time doing other things. And it helps almost everyone to spend less time scrolling. So I think that applies to Kevin Durant especially. Y'all got any more resolutions?
I got one more. I want Patrick Williams to average 15 points for the rest of the season. He had a decent stretch.
The bar is in the dirt.
He had, it's just, baby steps. But like he had a pretty damn good stretch when they started winning, and then he just had a 5-point game and a 3-point game in his last 2. So that's not helping. But before that, in his last 17 games, he's averaging 14.4 points on 53, 48, 72 splits.
It's pretty good.
48% from 3 on 4 attempts. Pretty nice.
It's definitely not bad. Isn't he like a specialist from the corner too? Isn't that like his hot spot?
Yeah, he shoots 41% for the corner. Yeah. He's pretty good. Okay.
I just I've seen a lot of Grizzlies Twitter being like, "Ooh, we can get Patrick Williams and Andre Drummond, and that would fix our whole team." I'm like, that's a weird spot to be in.
I think Patrick would work quite well with the Grizzlies. Like he's already like a solid, pretty good role player, and I know his defensive advanced stats are like the best they've been in his career. So like, just taking the star potential pressure off of Patrick and just letting him be a role player is ultimately like, ironically, we just talked about OG. I feel like an OG tier player is where Patrick is more likely than not going to end up.
Yeah, I could see it. I could definitely see it. Well, without any further ado, I guess we'll get into the Q&A portion of the podcast. Shout out to the 257 people we got in here right now. Be sure to leave a like. Pedro Arzola gave us $2 to ask us, will the Jazz be sellers this offseason?
I think they're sellers right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, no need to wait till the offseason. I am very happy he brought up the Jazz because I believe last podcast or the one before, we were kind of down on the Jazz, but I think they won 6 straight games, or like 6-1 in the last 7, something like that. They've looked surprisingly good somehow,
Why?
some way.
All right.
Maybe
Good
we
for them.
maybe we have a reverse curse. We jinx ourselves into being wrong when we talk shit.
Dude,
And then-
sometimes that shit pisses me off. The other day, some guy commented like, all you NBA YouTubers look like fools. You said the Bucks were going to be really good, and you said that the Lakers were contenders. And I'm like, okay, first of all, the Bucks have the 3rd best record in the NBA. Second of all, the Lakers were in the conference finals last year, and at least ostensibly, clearly not, but at least on the surface, improved the roster. What do you want? What do you want from me? It's fucking silly, man. It's like, I'm sorry I took the obvious evidence in front of me and came to a natural conclusion. I'm such a jackass.
Yeah. But selling on Lauri Markkanen and whoever else they want to let go of, by all means, elevate the talent level of the contenders in the NBA. Don't hang on to all these good players for yourself just to finish 35 and 47 or whatever, So,
Hey, one thing I will say about the Jazz, everyone's talking about Lauri Markkanen, which is fine, but I think
Chris Dunn.
yes, Chris Dunn. I haven't paid a ton of attention to him, but the player that I'm going to mention is neither of those.
Keontae.
I think eventually. I don't know if right now. I don't know if I'd be ready to pull the trigger on this right now, but I think eventually, some team is gonna benefit a lot from having Colin Sexton on their team. I think Colin Sexton has developed into a very positive player and can fill a role very, very well. And I don't know if a team should trade for him right now, but I think a year from now, 2 years from now, there's going to be a team that realizes, hey, this guy can do what we need him to do.
Yeah. Would you rather have...
Say it, Jacob. Let's get going because I got the numbers to back this up, baby. I know you want to do it, so let's go.
You about to talk shit?
I just don't believe in the type of player he is.
What type of player is that?
I don't believe in small guards who are not high volume 3-point shooters.
This is why you hate Ja Morant
Straight
so
up.
much.
Wait, who are not high volume 3-point
Well, Ja
shooters?
Morant's kind of an outlier of a slasher,
Yeah.
Okay, not high volume 3-point shooters and not great playmakers, not really good playmakers. Although I'm looking at the stretch he's had recently, it's still 4 assists. It's not great. But just in general, small guard who isn't a playmaker and isn't a shooter, not really a fan. That's just the archetype of player he is.
I will disagree that he's not a shooter. I think his volume is a little deceptive. I think he is a perfectly serviceable 3-point shooter. And
Right,
also,
I agree. I think
I'm not saying he should be your number one guy. I'm saying as like
a
6th or 7th or 8th man even.
Mm-hmm.
My point is Colin Sexton is no longer the isolation, self-created shots kind of player. That's not who he is anymore. He's not a primary ball handler anymore. He is a fit within an offensive system and do what the offense asks him to do and let the offense come to him. Does he make boneheaded decisions sometimes? Does he do stupid stuff that results in turnovers? Yes, every player does that. I'm not going to fault him too much for that. My point is that throughout his career, you can definitely look at how potentially only interested in his own numbers and stats. You can look at his career thus far and look in the past and say, yeah, that might have been the case. But this year specifically, I don't think you can say that at all. And I think he's currently probably having, I'd say, his most impactful season yet. To give you an idea of just how impactful he's been and unselfish he's been, during his hold on, my monitor just shut off. Okay, it's back.
Yeah, you got dark there for a second.
During his rookie season, he was attempting during his rookie season, 67% of his 3-point makes were assisted, which is pretty low. This year, 95% of the threes that Colin Sexton has made have been assisted.
Wow.
That's wild.
And he's still shooting 34%. That's rough. Only catch and shoots can't improve his efficiency.
All right. So continuing this, let's look at his assisted percentage overall, Jacob. His rookie season, 39% of his shots that he made were assisted. 39%. This year, 58% of his made field goals are assisted.
Cool. I don't agree. I don't disagree that he can be a role player that can impact. Sure.
I think you also he's shooting 68% at the rim, which is really freaking good for a guard.
That's pretty damn good.
That's really good. I agree.
I think potentially some people on the pod in the past have classified Colin Sexton as an empty calorie player, and all I'm saying is I don't think that's the case anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I'm guilty as charged in that regard myself. It's not just
I'm
a Jacob's slight.
Willing to say that he can be an impactful, positive player. I don't disagree with that. I'm thinking more to like the discussions I had about Colin Sexton 2-3 years ago, back when like Sexton versus Garland was a discussion people were having, and I'm like, this isn't a conversation. You guys are just seeing points per game. Yeah. You guys are seeing points per game and letting it blind you from the most obvious, actually what is impactful in the game of basketball. And even if he can be a role player that contributes positively, he's not going to be the type of role player that I love and think as highly of as I'm sure a lot of people will in that context.
I think it depends on what your team needs personally, but
yeah,
we don't need to get into all that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if Colin Sexton and Darius Garland just like touch the tips of their fingers and fuse Dragon Ball Z style, they would be one of the
fingers.
they would be a monstrous guard in the NBA, like definitely on that top tier with Tyrese Ja and I guess the other Tyrese Jay and Jalen. That'd be a hell of a player, but too bad that's impossible. We did get 50 units.
The best point guards in the NBA and neglected Steph and Luka.
Different tier.
Oh, okay. I got you. That's fair.
Behan Nort gave us 50 units for 2 questions, so real value prop here. Do you think the future belongs to small markets like Orlando and OKC and SAC and Indy, etc.? And will ESPN be forced to finally embrace them? Because KD, Steph, and LeBron might miss the play-in. This is not a bad observation. There are a lot of small market teams thriving in the NBA right now. San Antonio, even, though they're awful, they do have one of the faces of the NBA on their team moving forward for the next 10 plus years. So small market juice might be what we're sipping on.
There's a little nitpick, but I don't think I would put Durant in the same category as Curry and LeBron in terms of drawing eyes.
Really?
No. LeBron and Steph are like always at the top of the league in jersey sales, among other things. That's just like an easy metric to point to, but Steph and LeBron are absolutely more powerful, more popular than Kevin Durant. Anyways.
Yeah. I don't see any reason why the NBA wouldn't want to elevate these small markets. It seems like that's sort of Adam Silver's go-to. It seems like that's his ethos, is elevating the floor of the league rather than raising the ceiling.
Says that, I can't tell if he means it or not, but I have liked the things he's said about it.
I mean, he rigged the draft to give New Orleans and Memphis the top 2 picks in a 2-player draft 4 years ago. Gave San Antonio Wemby. This is all based on the assumption that every draft lottery is completely rigged. But hey, small market teams on the way up.
I'm so fucking sick of being a fan of a giant market team that doesn't act like it even a little bit.
Yeah, my dad actually texted me, who never texts me about basketball ever. He just said Bulls and Knicks on tonight. I'm like, yeah, there's 11 other games that are better than that one. I don't know why that one's on national TV. Of everything you had to text me about, it had to be this.
Yeah. It's like,
so
this would have been cool in the 90s.
I don't think the media will necessarily embrace the markets, but that doesn't mean that they can't embrace the players. They can't use Wemby as a headline on a TNT doubleheader like they did last night, just because it's a small market. But it depends on these players. It's not about the teams. This is just not the NBA it was in the 20th century. It's a player-oriented media landscape, not a team fan base one. Sure, the Lakers and the Knicks are going to get more pull still because there's some grandfathered in grandiosity to those teams appeal, but a guy like Wemby is way more appealing than a guy like Julius Randle, and that's that. Like,
I also feel like the NBA audience is getting younger and younger, especially because like a lot of older NBA fans that you encounter are real fucking like bitter about what the game is today. So I feel like the importantness, the emphasis on the large markets and their franchise history and all that is not as significant or important as a selling point as it used to be.
Yeah. We do got some more super chats to go through, or maybe just the one.
For like a 20-year-old, if you go like, the Celtics, you go, oh, you mean that team that won a championship in 2008 and literally nothing else even remotely relevant to my life?
Devontae Koikendall gave us $5 USD. Appreciate the donation. To say, should the Hawks retool, go and buy even more, or go into rebuild mode while Trey is still young? Almost a pun there. We also got another question that said, is DeJounte a good fit for the Lakers as a trade target? So we can kind of bundle those in, I suppose. I feel like the Hawks making any progress sort of depends on them moving on from Capella and DeJounte, but that is more so from like our group chat than like my own opinion. You know what I mean? So like, what are the Hawks' chances of having the highest level of success with those guys, and is it higher without it?
I honestly keep thinking, I don't know really where DeJounte, what his place in the NBA even is. Like, I'm trying to think like where he would go after this, what place makes sense to trade for him, and it's really difficult to come up with an answer.
Yeah, DeJounte Murray, I don't know. To me, when he was on the Spurs, it seemed like he was one of the most coveted players in the NBA. And as soon as he started playing next to Trae Young, it's like, yep, never mind.
Well, he also stopped playing defense, which is a kind of big fucking part of that. Like, defense was his main selling point, and the offense was like a nice add-on that he could be pretty competent at those things. But now it's like you have a guard who's a okay playmaker, okay shot creator, okay shooter, who doesn't play defense for real, rebounds well for a guard. That's cool, I guess, but that's about it. It's not ultimately that impactful of a player. LA is a team that I thought about, but like I feel like I'd want to shoot for a little bit higher than that, but at the same time I don't know if they can get higher than that, so maybe. But yeah, free Onyeka Okongwu. That's my take.
Jeremiah Green asked us earlier, or more so stated, I can't believe the Bucks got Malik Beasley for the veteran minimum because of how he played in LA. And now he's shooting lights out from Milwaukee. And parentheses, he didn't say this, I am. But apparently he's still their lead point of attack defender for some reason. These sorts of moves, to me, swing the balance of championship contendingness just as much, if not more, than like the superstar dynamic. I think the supporting cast getting in on like veteran minimum contracts, not necessarily like buyout market guys, but like sleeper signings like Malik Beasley have the power to win you a championship if all the other pieces are in place.
Just a little humble brag here. Once that signing happened, I said it's going to be one of the most important ones of the offseason. And this dude's shooting 47% from three this year on 6 attempts a game. I do think he probably will play less in the postseason because like he's not a point of attack defender for real. But and he's definitely being asked to do way too much on defense for how much he's being paid and for being an offensive player. But the Bucks are it's definitely a very good low contract, amount signing.
Yeah. This one is for you, Alex, I reckon. Oh, Nadine Marcus asked us, what do you think about Chet winning the MVP one day? Pretty impressive rookie season. Kind of been a second fiddle because SGA is like god tier right now. But does Chet have an MVP level ceiling?
Nah.
The question's not for you, Jacob. Gosh.
Why do you think it's not for me? It doesn't say.
Because Rudy said that.
Yeah, I said so, and I'm the authority here.
I didn't hear it.
I mean, maybe he does. I don't know. I think if you're playing next to Shea, probably no, just because Shea is going to be the go-to guy, which is fine. That's not a problem. I just think he would never have the usage to be an MVP level guy. He could probably have MVP level impact, but I don't know if he would ever reach the ceilings necessary to be an MVP level guy.
Then we also got a few more super
I
chats.
add something?
Oh
Or
yes,
am I not allowed?
Please add something. By all
I
means.
think SGA won't. Or I think SGA will be with him. I think they'll be together for a long time. And SGA is better, and I don't think that will change. So, kind of cancels it out.
Yeah. We got a $10 donation from Neil Oldham. Nothing to add, just a $10 donation. So Neil,
thank you.
I appreciate it. But
This is the ideal relationship with our audience.
Just give us $10 and say nothing.
Don't say shit.
No, we want you to say things. Please give us things to talk about.
We actually need things to talk about.
Yeah. So Neil, if you want to say something in the chat, I will put it on screen. You don't need to pay for it again. Rob 008 gave us a question for $5. Thoughts on Porzingis' impact on the Celtics? He's been on a tear lately. Jacob, you've been telling me for a couple of weeks now that he's a certain rank on the Celtics. I don't know how public you want to go
He's
for
their
it.
second best player, second most important player. I don't think it's close either. And I also think Derek White is more important and more impactful than Jaylen Brown.
Yeah. These are true things.
I mean, a lot of people have given me shit for that take because people love to live in I guess the year ago it's still the past though. But like Porzingis, the offense opens up so much because of Porzingis. Like truthfully, almost all of the wonkiness that has existed with Boston's offense forever, like Porzingis got rid of so much of that. And like, in terms of his role on offense, he is in the right spot all the time, whether it's for a three-pointer, for a mid-range shot, for a dunk, for a dive inside, a post-up on a switch. It's just like the right play is happening every fucking time. And that's really valuable. So, yeah, he's been very impactful. He's also been a big positive on the defensive end of the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Porzingis is just Jaren Jackson of this season, I guess. Everything is relative to the Grizzlies for me. Rodney TV gave us another $4.99 USD. Appreciate the second donation, Rodney. Do y'all think a team that's heavy rebounding and pounding the paint could be an elite offense in today's game?
If there are 40% shooters on the team, what? That's weird.
I'm very confused by this.
I feel like I'm missing context here, Rodney.
Also, like,
is this about a specific team?
If you're that good at shooting as well, like, you're not going to be rebounding as much because the shots are going in. Like, oftentimes teams that have lived on like offensive rebounding being a huge part of their identity, it's because they have a bunch of dudes who can't hit fucking shots. Think of the Andre Drummond Pistons.
Oh man, those were the days, especially when Greg Monroe was there too. Those boys could rebound. Rebounding is killing Memphis this season, which is why Jaywan asked me, "What's your outlook on Memphis in the trade market this year?" Got to get a rebounder. If we don't acquire someone who can just crash the boards, then we're throwing away the season. I think we're like 0-22 in games where we, rebound at like a below average level, and then we're like all of our wins are coming in games where we rebound well. Like rebounding is the thing defining our season so far, besides being a horrible 3-point defending team and a horrible 3-point shooting team. Really, the Grizzlies need to put in a lot of work, but if we're going to make any trades, it's got to be for a guy like Andre Drummond or a Nicholas Claxton.
What about Clint Capella?
I've seen Clint Capella stuff. I've seen that on Twitter.
Listen, the Hawks need to get rid of Clint Capella. Clint Capella is still a fine center. He's not better than Onyeka Okongwu, but he's still fine. If you can trade for him for relatively cheap to be, I think, better than Steven Adams, sounds like a win to me.
Yeah, I would say so. I would take Clint Capella as long as the price isn't too high. I don't want to give up Luke Kennard or anything like that.
I think you can literally just match salary and second round picks, maybe 2 or 3.
We got a 4 first that we can trade, so maybe even throw one in there.
I would not trade a first for Clint Capella.
Well, the Grizzlies have missed in the draft 3 years in a row. We had a great stint when Clemson first took over.
I don't like that mindset. Well, we suck at drafting in the past, so we should just throw away all of our picks in the future.
I have Jake LaRavia trauma. What can I say? And then last one, actually two more. Sorry, unless people throw us money. Coffee Nike says, y'all seen these fan votes regarding the All-Star game? Austin Reeves having more votes than Devin Booker is crazy. And yeah, I agree.
I don't understand why Devin Booker got no votes at all. Is there no love for him in Phoenix? Because god damn. I realized Booker became kind of like a villain to a lot of people in the league. I don't really see it to a strong degree. He can be a little annoying sometimes, but Austin Reeves definitely not better than Devin Booker. I can tell you that much. And it's not like the Lakers have been super successful to justify it. It's just because he's the white boy of the week for the Lakers, and they love their white boys of the week.
Yeah, that's just the Lakers bump. Just
I know happens. For sure Alex Caruso has been top 10 in guard voting in the West when he was a Laker. I remember that.
Yeah,
I'm surprised we're not saying Rui Hachimura on there. Fuck it, Beha Nort gave us 25 units. Thank you for the donation again. How do you
credit that? What?
I do not know.
PLN? I mean, thank you, whatever it is, but what?
Right. How do you see Chet and Victor developing? The discourse will be interesting when Wemby is the guy and Chet is 2A/2B with JWSGA as the first option. Pretty similarly, I guess. I mean, they're similar players. Defensive anchors are mobile and giant. Love to shoot the ball.
I think most people are expecting Wemby to be better in the long run, but Chet's better right now.
Yeah. Thank you for the money, but this question is going to annoy me for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
well, I mean, what? I mean, it's something people talk about all the time. Like, it ties into the Rookie of the Year debate. It's like, yeah, okay.
Maybe I'm tripping, but it feels like the association of these two is more like Chet is tied to Wemby and less like Wemby's tied to Chet. It seems more like Wemby is like
Chet was here first.
Yeah, he was.
Why is Chet more tied to Wemby than Wemby tied to Chet?
He wasn't hyped like Wemby though.
Yeah.
Chet was pretty hyped. He wasn't as hyped as Wemby, but people forget in high school and middle school how hyped Chet was. That dude was like one of the most viral. Yeah, dude, what? There's videos of Chet hooping in 8th grade where people are like, "This dude's insane." I'm not saying he's as hyped as Wemby. I'm just like, what is this like? It doesn't mean it. Who cares? That's my point.
I'm just telling you.
You brought it up.
I'm saying what I've said is true, but it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, my whole point is like, who cares who's tied to who? Like, they're both going to be good. Wemby's probably going to be better. It's just like, it's just a discussion that's just, I don't know. We're on a hamster wheel and running in circles.
I will say, I don't think we should express the Wemby will be better thing like it's such a certainty, like a lot of people have. Like, it's not written in stone.
Yeah, I mean, based on perceived upside is more my point.
Yeah. And then last one, unless we get a donation at the buzzer, JP says, who do my Sixers need to continue this great run? I'm concerned about the health of key players, parentheses, Joel Embiid. I love Clarkson in Philly. That would be good. Clarkson in Philly would be a nice guy for them to pick up.
I think if you're the Sixers, you're going to be concerned about the health of key players forever because your key player is Joel Embiid. So you're just going to
and the Sixers historically bad at managing health.
You just need to get over that. That's always going to happen. I mean, Do you mean continue this great run like the regular season? I don't think you need to do anything to keep being good in the regular season. It's a matter of it translating to the postseason. And as far as I'm concerned, I don't think Jordan Clarkson is what you need for that. I think you've got enough offense. I'd be more concerned about having point of attack defenders and just depth in general.
And they already picked up Robert Covington, right? The return of Rocco. That's a nice little defensive addition. I more or less agree with you. They've done enough to sustain themselves. And
I have no concern
get
about
lucky in the playoffs.
The Sixers falling off in the regular season. They're going to keep going where they're going.
And then lastly, we did get a donation at the buzzer, 99 cents from Yuta. Appreciate it, Yuta. He attached the didn't attach the message, but said, do you think Jonathan Isaac would be a good pickup for the Sixers? Sure.
We just talked about it.
Oh,
He froze.
that's it.
That'll do it.
Hello? Hello?
We're wrapping up.